Hey, everybody, it's Anna Morgan, your career BFF, and I'm excited to share with you my new career BFF. Enrique Rubio has joined us today, and I'm so excited to learn more about you. Enrique, welcome to the Your Career BFF podcast. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Thank you, Anna, for inviting me. Excited to be with you today. And I love the name of your podcast, by the way.
Thank you.
All exciting stuff. My name is Enrique, and I currently live in the beautiful town of Flagstaff, Arizona, originally from Venezuela, where I was born and grew up. And I come from an engineering background. I am an electronic engineer. I always dreamed with working in technology, and I worked in technology for a long time. And somehow, for the accidents of the universe, I parachuted into HR and consulting first, and then corporate HR, and then a community builder of HR communities. And that summarizes 25 years of work. And here I am building communities and bringing people together and creating all opportunities for them to connect and learn from each other and ultimately elevate HR and turn it into a real business leading function. So that's a little bit about me.
Amazing. Amazing. We share the mutual passion of building communities where people first leaders can really elevate their skills and
Yeah.
also learn organically through each other. And I love that. We also share a unique connection through engineering. But first, I want to know what inspired you to go from a very technical, analytical, structured career like engineering over to human resources and people operations.
Yeah, when I was doing engineering, the last stint in my engineering career, even though the engineering mindset never goes away, by the way. So that's something that I always treasure and use.
Mhm.
But at the end of my career as a practicing engineer, I did technical sales, and I really enjoyed working with people and for people, but I didn't
Mhm.
want to be in sales. I didn't enjoy sales too much. So then I
Okay.
looked around and I was looking, what field of expertise works with people that is not sales. And then I found HR. Literally, that's the way I was thinking about it, right? Oh, HR. And HR does this and does that. And I think it can do, more things or less things, whatever. This was so many years ago. And I decided to join a consulting firm and then do my own consulting work in HR. I did my master's degree with a focus on HR after
Okay.
having decided that I wanted to move into HR, obviously. And here I am, almost 15 years later, into HR or in HR.
Mhm.
And that's like the reason why I transitioned. I enjoyed very much working in pure technology as an
Mhm.
electronic engineer. That's what I did. But when I did this short stint in sales, I realized that I truly enjoy having those conversations and serving people, but I didn't want to be in sales. I don't think there's anybody like, I think I have asked this question like rhetorically a few times, right? I don't think there's anybody who is a 5-year-old saying, oh, when I grow up, I want to be in HR. I think a lot of people end up in that field for for a number of accidents of the universe. One of them may be they are psychologists and they want to work, they end up in HR, or organizational psychologists or
Right.
industrial psychologists, and now it's a more expanded field that includes engineers like me, or sales or finance or marketing people coming into HR because they see a lot of potential fields. Anyway, long answer to say that's how I entered into this area of work.
Okay. And then you mentioned some of your studies earlier. It looks like you studied at Syracuse University. How
Yeah.
would you say those experiences have shaped your professional outlook and your leadership philosophy today?
Yeah. Oh, that's a wonderful question. I don't think I've ever been asked that question, by the way. So
I like
when
to ask it because I think there's a huge opportunity for early career listeners and understanding the nuances of a squiggly career and
Yeah.
the permission slip that it's okay to go from engineering to people operations and HR leadership. But, telling the story of how you transitioned and pivoted and how those experiences have shaped you today, I think is extraordinarily valuable for those
Yeah.
early career folks.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's definitely a very good question. And I actually will step back a little bit and tell you something about my electronic engineer career.
Okay.
I was so focused on getting it done. I don't know why I rushed it. I actually finished my program in Venezuela, where I was born, and when I went to school to do engineering. All programs for undergrad degrees are 5 years, not for 4 years like here in the US.
Interesting.
But I rushed it. I want generally people in Venezuela who have an engineering degree, they graduate with what would be the equivalent of a master's and an undergrad in the US, given the
Okay.
length of the and the depth of the programs.
Hmm.
But I rushed it a little bit because I was like eager to really go into working and I don't know,
Yeah.
probably making money too. And I missed a lot of opportunities when I was doing my engineering degree. I now I live in the US, so I've been very fortunate with a number of things that have happened in my life. But if I had taken advantage and seized some of the opportunities that I had when I was doing my engineering degree, I probably could have traveled to other countries to do like a 1 year program
Ah.
somewhere else or a 1 semester. But that's
Mhm.
one type of opportunity that I missed for rushing something that I shouldn't have rushed. So number one advice
Mm.
from my past life is don't rush things. If you can, like get involved in various things and enjoy programs and the opportunities that your university or your program or your college or your community college, whatever it is, if you can enjoy those opportunities without rushing it too much, do because some of them may not lead anywhere, but
Right?
some of those opportunities will definitely make sense years later. And you will look back and say, thanks goodness that I did what I did because otherwise I wouldn't be where I am right now. So that's
Yes.
number one. But Venezuela is a very homogeneous country, Hispanic people from various
Mhm.
countries, but everybody's Spanish and everybody mostly comes from the same places. So when I moved to the US to do my Syracuse University program, I started
Mhm.
in Maxwell School, which is the number one public administration school in the US. So I was very fortunate to come here with a Fulbright scholarship to do that. But I was in a classroom with 60 other people representing, like, I don't know, 40 different countries: India, Bangladesh,
Oh,
Pakistan, Moldova, Georgia, Romania, the US, Venezuela, Mexico, Peru. And
wow.
I had never been exposed to that level of diversity in my life. And it was
Wow.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Learning from different accents, learning from different cultures, going to eat with people who prepare food differently. Like all of
Mhm.
these things were
Yeah.
so valuable to me because they helped me. Even I'm gonna give you one like very nuanced, silly, mundane example, right? But I studied with people whose accents were a lot thicker than mine. And for a while, it took me some time to understand what they were saying. And then I got used to it. And now that I am a community builder, that I talk to people from all over the world, that is not an obstacle for me anymore because I understand every single accent from anywhere in the world just
Wow.
because I had that experience. And that's a very mundane, but real, tangible, and valuable example. So, anyway, those are very small things, but the ultimate kind of message here is take advantage of these opportunities because once you get into the workforce working full time and you have your family and things get a little complicated, enjoy that. Yeah, enjoy that time. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, moving from Venezuela to the United States was a pivotal moment. Through that immigration journey, you've reflected back some of the lessons learned. Any other learnings or light bulb moments, or even like the story that you just shared, that are still driving the way that you lead and build community today?
Yeah, the diversity part of it is real, but this is a very diverse country. This country has
Mhm.
been built on diversity and immigration, despite all the things going on these days and all
Yes.
the war on hardworking, good people that
Yeah.
come here to amplify and expand our capacities by bringing new perspectives. I think that's beautiful. Like
Yeah.
every time that I talk to somebody, I'm building all these communities, and some days I see somebody dressed in their. Let me give you this example, right? I was having a meeting with people from Pretoria and Durban in South Africa, and somebody shows up to the
Wow.
meeting with a sari, which is the traditional Indian women's clothes. And they were celebrating Heritage Day. And I asked this person, like, you're wearing that dress, but you're in South Africa. Tell me more about this. And she explained to me all her background and her heritage as an Indian, fourth generation Indian living in South Africa. And all I
Wow.
kept hearing was like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. Your dress, the colors, what you're saying, your culture, and the mix of all these things, just so beautiful. So there are people who come here, and the best that you can do when they come to this country and you talk to them is just learn.
Mhm.
Learn from their background, learn from where they're coming from. It is just so beautiful, right? To me, learning about all these cultures, you never know when some of tidbit of that knowledge may have a massive impact in your life. I always
Mhm.
think about, I don't know if you watch this movie, Slumdog Millionaire. It's an Indian movie. So Slumdog Millionaire. So it's the story of this kid who goes through all these insane things in his life, and then he goes to the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And every question that he's asked, he responds correctly, but not because he knew the answer necessarily by studying, but because he remembers something that happened in his life
Mm.
that was connected to the response or the answer to that question. So you never know when these things will
Right.
make sense. But the opposite is true too. For those of us here now in the US, when somebody comes from another country, first of all, kudos to everybody who is migrating to anywhere. It takes a lot of guts to go anywhere else that is different, where your language may be more limited, you have an accent.
Mm.
So if we're here and we see somebody else coming here for the first time, just know that their culture, their reality may be very different. So be open minded to not only learn from them, but to also guide them. So that to me was critical during
Right.
my time in Maxwell School. Getting help from people. I mean, like me going to Jimmy John's to get a sandwich and people telling me, like in the counter, what kind of bread do you want? And I'm like, how many kind of breads there are? And there's like a million kinds of breads. And in Venezuela, it's like two. So there's simplicity in what I'm saying, but if
Sure.
you're coming on your first day and you're hungry and you want to go with a second language
Right.
that you're just learning, you go to a sandwich shop, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so confused. So that may be little, but it has an impact in how you help others and how you learn from them as well. So that to me is the ultimate learning that I have
Mhm.
had in these transitions in my life. Yeah.
That's beautiful, and thank you for sharing that. I keep thinking about the quote from Steve Jobs where he says, "You can't connect the dots looking forwards, you can only
Mm,
connect the dots looking backwards."
I
And
love it.
we have to trust in destiny, intuition, karma, that these connection points will serve us in the future. And he says, "This approach has never let me down." And, what I'm hearing you echo is the beauty of being curious of
Mm,
others, of communities, of cultures, of languages, and immersing yourself in different experiences and communities so that you can find innovation and spark new ideas that you can bring back to maybe your core pillar, the future of HR and leadership that you and I share a common space of. I really love that and pick that quote up from one of my coaches that's guided me on LinkedIn over the years. So I was glad to be
uh,
able to share that.
No, that's one of my favorite quotes. And actually, you used a word that I was going to bring up if you hadn't done so, and the word is curiosity.
Mm.
To me, if I can list the top five most beautiful words to me, and not just the word itself, but what they mean, curiosity has to be in the top five, if not in the top three. I have read so many books about curiosity. You may want to consider, by the way, bringing a couple of my good pals, Jeff Wetzler, who wrote a book called Ask, and Joe Lally, who just released a book about asking questions. And
Awesome.
there's a book that I can't remember the name of the author. I should look it up. It's called A More Beautiful Question. All of these things are related to curiosity. And
Mm,
to me, it is just asking those questions and learning from others. Because once
mhm,
again, you just going back to the Steve Jobs quote, right? You can't connect the dots today. You connect
mhm.
them like
Yeah,
forward, right? You look back in time and you say, "Oh my gosh, that thing that I learned 10 years ago because I
yeah,
dared to ask a question to someone. Let me connect it with this thing today, and nobody else has that connection. Only me, because only I asked that question back then, and only I have the experience today of this other thing, and only I can connect these dots." And
mhm,
that to me is just so powerful. It is that curiosity, That's
Yeah, and we'll definitely get the links to those books and put them in the show notes to share because obviously I would love to continue learning and add those to my library. So we'll be sure to get those. And then moving into the future of human resources, talent acquisition, and people first leadership, you're the founder of Hacking HR and the head of global community for Transform. Why don't you start us off telling us about Hacking HR, how you decided to build this community, and why we should be a part of that particular community?
Yeah, this is one of those stories of connecting the dots forward, right? And or
Yay.
looking back in time. I'm an engineer, and I entered into HR in 2010 or 11. In 2017, when I realized that there have been a lot of people in the technology world who knew that artificial intelligence, the way we see now, was going to happen. And
Mhm.
I think I can count myself as one of them because it was just inevitable. We were going in that direction. And all I kept thinking was like, I love HR, and HR moves so slowly sometimes. And when
You
AI
said it,
finally
not me.
no, it's people who know me, they know that I say this like it's the kind of love that you have for something, but it's not the love for just its current state, it's the
Right,
love for its potential state. And that's why I love HR, because I love it
right.
for what we are, but also for what we could do. So anyway,
Mhm,
in 2017, I realized the moment this AI wave hits the workplace, we, all of us in HR, but outside of HR too, we're going to be so unprepared to, and we are, by the way, and this was like so many years back,
yeah,
we're going to be so unprepared to tap into these opportunities, to seize the moment and to do something with it, that I decided to bring a group of people together to talk about technology and HR. And through those conversations, I realized, oh my gosh, the slowness is not just in technology and HR. We're also very slow to understand the new trends on demographic shifts, the new trends on
mhm,
employee experience, the new trends on culture and the connection between people, culture, and strategy. So then I
mm,
expanded that conversation, and we ended up becoming a community talking about multiple things, right? So right
right,
now, Hacking HR is very focused on virtual events and academic programs. Transform is very focused on building small communities around the world, theme based, but also geographically located in smaller cities. And
mm,
obviously, the Transform conference as well, and the online community. Both of these communities, they are complementary. And ultimately, the mission of both and the multiple other communities that exist out there, we're not the
mhm,
only two. There are many
yeah,
more out there. Some of them are very good, and all of us are aiming to elevate HR and create the principles for an elevated HR profession that is leading us forward. I always like to talk about. I have one word. I am a competitive trail runner,
oh,
and
wow,
yeah. So before you go to any race in trail running, there are people who are called trailblazers. And
yes,
we don't always call them that way, by the way, but what they do is a few days before any race, they go out to their course, whatever trail it is,
mhm,
and they put blazes, they put ribbons and marks on the trails so that you don't get lost, so that you can focus on your race and you don't get lost going to who knows where. These are trailblazers. That's the role that I see HR playing. I see HR playing the role of for everybody else, the future begins tomorrow. For us, it begins today, like the trailblazer. We go a little bit before to mark the trail
mhm,
so that they can follow our lead and focus on what they have to do without getting lost. So we are the ones who are like braving the conditions, braving the terrain, braving the unknown to go out there and mark the trail for others. That's the role that I see HR playing, trailblazer. We're not there yet. Again, I'm in love with the potential of HR and the potential of becoming a trailblazer. We are not there yet, but I think there is a movement led by communities like Transform or Hacking HR and multiple others trying to create the conditions for HR to embrace that role, embrace that belief, and learn
mhm,
how to get it done. So that's what
mhm.
inspires me about and what I do with Hacking HR, what I do with Transform, and the many other communities that I end up supporting through my work and whatnot.
Awesome. I look to creators and community builders like you. As you're probably aware, I hosted my first conference last January. pulled it together in 89 days with 16 speakers and 10 sponsors, and pretty much dragged all of my friends from LinkedIn and across the world. Essentially, I had people from all over come to be a part of the Evolve TA and HR experience. And for me, having been a full cycle recruiter and talent acquisition leader the majority of my life and now entrepreneur, I continue to see as I consult and work with my clients and job seekers, the opportunity for not only talent acquisition and HR to come together to remove that gatekeeping and that competition and stigma that HR is all compliance and talent is just order takers, right? Together, we are what can change the world of work, right? And that has to happen hand in hand.
Um,
So that was part of the motivation to create Evolve. And I'm in full planning for Evolve 2.0 later this year in January 28th. And so it's very inspiring just to see the shared enthusiasm among folks like you and
uh,
how these subcultures and communities are expanding. So we're able to train, educate, and level up all of the leaders in our community. But with that, you're speaking to all types of professionals, probably from individual contributors to board members. What are you most excited about regarding the future of work? And we can't not talk about the impact of technology on the functions of HR and talent.
yeah, thanks for sharing all the story about your event too. Obviously, I'm aware, and I'm glad that there's already a date for 2.0, January 28th.
It's Thursday the 28th, if I have that right. My dyslexia keeps getting in my mind. I'm like, you come in Wednesday, and then the event's on Thursday the 29th, and then fly out on Friday the 30th. So we have
20, I think 28 is a very good day for a conference. I don't know why I think the 28s are good days for an event.
I didn't want to have it on a Friday, so I chose a Thursday. People can either stay in Atlanta and have a great weekend, or there's a lot of great employers here in Atlanta, Floor& Decor, Whitecap, Google's here, Delta. So hopefully many of them will be joining us this year. So
Yeah, that's phenomenal. And let me tell you something. I know I'm gonna go to the question about what excites me the most, but I want to say something first. At the time that I created Hacking HR, there were not a lot of communities in HR. There may have been obviously the old legacy ones,
yes,
like
yeah,
Sherm and maybe a
right.
couple others.
There's definitely a trailblazer community as I see
We
it.
are, and I don't say this with being pretentious or arrogant, because to me the success of what we have done is not just what we have done, is that we
Mhm,
inspire others to create their own communities as well, and that to me
mhm.
has had so much power, which when people ask me like, oh wait, are you not competing with this and competing with that, and I'm like, are you out of your mind? There are 12 million HR people in the world. In
12
America,
million.
about that. And in America, it's got to be between 3.5 and 5 million people. If you put all the existing groups of HR together, SHRM, HRCI, Agile HR Transform,
Yeah,
this and that, you put them all together, I can bet that no more than 10% of the entire universe of HR people is covered by our community. So the pie, the piece of the pie that hasn't been tapped into is bigger, a lot bigger than the piece that we're covering. So
yeah,
are we competition? No. We are all part of the same ecosystem. And every time that I see a new community saying like something like, we are the people analytics for government agencies community. Oh, great. I'm so happy that the people who work in people analytics in government have a community now, because
mhm,
the largest communities like Hacking HR Transform, we can't always get into the very niche areas because we become very large.
that's
So
right.
anyway, I want to say that because anybody who is listening to me and believes in this vision of empowering and enabling HR to become a trailblazer, if you have a little knack for community, go for it. It's not
Yeah,
easy. Creating a community is a very hard kind of thing to do. Go
yeah.
for it. Do it.
And one thing I wanted to say about that, and I'm speaking a lot more about this around the Scott McGregor outlier energy, right? He says people over everything. And I have really been living and trying to embody the same energy of collaboration over competition and being in that abundant mindset. And as you said, you just gave the data to say there is so much opportunity to continue elevating this space. So if
Yeah.
you have a niche, or even if you are more in the generalist space and may or may not compete with the transform, evolve, hacking HR, there's still plenty of space on the playground for you to set up and to build those containers and conversations. And so I love that. Again, it's that permission slip to say yes to yourself, yes to the leadership, and yes to building spaces where you can gather like minded and diverse thought leaders to help solve some of the most challenging people obstacles that we encounter in our day-to-day interactions as consultants or
Yeah.
leaders within organizations. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. But back to you as far as like technology's impact on HR and what you're most excited about.
I think I'm most excited about the unleashing of an era of what I'm hoping. By the way, it doesn't look, sometimes it doesn't look that
Bright and
that
shiny
that
and
that aligned, that
optimistic.
bright and shining and optimistic. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes it looks a little darker than
terrifying.
what it is. But I'm excited about an era unleashing opportunities and with technology, particularly with AI. And I am not just talking about this stupid idea of now we're going to get some time back. And when we get time back, we're going to be able to focus on more creative work. That is BS. That has never happened. Never has that happened.
Like the age old saying, if we do this digital transformation in recruiting, we will have time then to refresh all the job descriptions. And
Yeah,
then
no,
you're done.
no, it never gets done because then you end up managing the technology. And I don't know if you're familiar with the Murphy's laws. One of the Murphy's laws say or says you will fill up the space that you have available to complete a task, even if you can complete it in less than the time allotted for that task. So if
Right.
you what that means is that if you get a month to do something that you could have done in 2 weeks, you're going to use the entire month. So,
Mhm.
because that's the way most humans end up operating. And I feel that we're going to end up filling up the gaps that we get back with something as meaningless until the new
Mhm.
revolution happens. And then we come back and say, oh, this other thing will give us time back. But that's not what I'm excited about. What I am excited about when we talk about technology is the opportunity to solve some real critical, painful problems. And let me give you
Mhm.
a couple of examples of this. They are using AI now. We haven't found a cure to cancer yet.
Mhm.
And they are now using AI. I read it about a month ago to be able to, in an experimental setting, to be
Mhm.
able to match all the possible proteins that exist in the human body with
Mhm.
cancerous cells to see which ones can attack the cancer cell and kill it.
Mhm.
This is experimental and this is using AI. If we were to do this in a real lab, it would probably take us 1,000 years to come up with the actual protein that works. So
Mhm.
to me, that is incredibly exciting. There's
Okay.
another case that has been, I think it's been out there for a while, which is this AI tool analyzed mammograms from thousands of patients.
Mhm.
And there was one that it analyzed, and there was like a tiny thing in the mammogram, and the AI
Mhm.
tool said, this is going to become cancer in 4 or 5 years from now. Something that was going to be and was actually it was not detected by the doctors who were analyzing that one mammogram and X-ray and whatnot, right? So
Yeah.
those are the things that excite me the most about technology, which is solving things that truly cause pain in our society, not just posting more things created by AI on LinkedIn. I don't know if I can say bad words in here, but that is BS. To me, the real power is how can we solve all these very complex problems, poverty, climate change, inequality. So that to me is exciting. On the other hand, there's there are components of that are scary. One of them
Mhm.
being that there are like 10 companies in the world that own all the large language models and AI. So this is pretty much a monopoly, and at least I don't see the American government stepping in to control that at all. Thankfully, I see the European Union doing the right thing, but in America, I think we need a little bit more
Mhm.
than letting these companies do whatever the heck they want.
I totally agree. I totally
Yeah,
agree. And HR and talent have such complex roles within organizations today. And it's just so important that we keep learning, keep sharing with
yeah,
each other. And part of the communities that we are passionate about building also solve other mental health problems like loneliness and
Right.
stalled innovation. I know as a solopreneur, the value of having access to communities like the Outlier Project and the Transform communities have been absolutely life changing. As far as, say, AI is concerned, I know the recruitment community is often a trailblazer in adopting new technology. How are you seeing HR executives at the higher levels embracing AI? And then I'm just curious how you're leveraging AI in your day to day operations and work that you do.
I think I can very honestly say that without AI now, I would be useless. I wasn't like this before.
I
You
probably
know,
couldn't have planned my event without AI
no,
logical. Yeah.
we probably could, but it would bring us back to an era of a lot of wasted time and whatnot, right? So I use AI for everything that I do. This is my formula though. When it comes to the thinking, when it is about the thinking and the creation of something, 90% is me, my brain, and 10% is my interaction with AI. When it comes to the doing, then it is 50-50. So let me explain what that
Okay.
means. If I am going to create a new program, a new activity, a new event, I go for my run and I am thinking, okay, what do I want the event to be? What do I want to talk
Right.
about? When do I want to do it? Blah, 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 blah. Then I come
Right.
to AI and I say, what do you think about this title? Help me out, come up with other titles and whatnot. So, okay, so that's 90% of the thinking, 10% me, and 10% AI. Now, when it comes to putting together emails, calendar invites, and the
Mhm.
description of an event, I just go to AI and I say, this is my style. This is the event. This is the title that I have for this panel. These are the events that I have done in the past. Create a description that sounds like this for this other
Right.
topic. Then I don't have to think about it. Then
Yeah.
I do that interaction. So I use AI for literally everything that
Love
you
that.
can think of. How are leaders using AI? So what's positive and negative at the same time is that they are using AI exactly in the way that I just told you about. They are
Okay.
using AI as a tool, and
Mhm.
AI is not a tool. AI is a transversal enabler of everything that you can think of. It's not just a
Okay.
tool to help you write emails faster, to help you
Yep.
schedule calls faster. It is a tool that can truly augment the capabilities of a team, of an individual, of an organization.
Right.
So what that means is that I think over the past 2 years and a half, since the rise of ChatGPT, we have gotten so used to using AI just as a tool that we're forgetting the augmentative powers of AI to do a lot more than that. So we're gonna have to flip that switch a little bit. And I teach a couple of programs on AI where I tell people the first day, pretty much in the first 5 minutes, I tell them if you
Yeah.
came to this program looking to learn how to prompt AI, you're in the wrong program. If you
Mhm.
came here to learn how to leverage AI and become a strategic leader that
Mhm.
uses AI to power and augment your business operations and your capabilities, then this is the right place for you. And that
Beautiful.
requires different thinking, different thinking. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think I've watched the trends in people leadership and recruiting, right? And it's everybody's hiring recruiters, everyone's laying off recruiters, same with HR very much. And
Yeah.
while this AI movement is in place and many people are still trying to sharpen, I would say, their communication skills, their EQ skills, because they have been dulled since COVID, right? We've all been through so much. And then we're given this tool AI that we can spend a lot of time with and reiterate with and talk with. But I'm starting to wonder how much, if there's balance between how much time we're spending talking to AI versus talking to humans. My spidey intuitive sense is just like all these ups and downs that we've had in the people leadership space, is that there inevitably will be a tipping point with AI that we will be somewhat exhausted, right? Or there will be leaders that don't know how to embrace to leverage for strategic and
Yeah.
operational efficiency and the ability to be more human, right? That's how I see what AI gives me back is removes the administrative function. It is a great brainstorming and creative partner, but it is never going to replace how I build trust and how I focus on human to human connection. And
Yeah.
so I'm really trying to encourage my clients, whether they're hiring or job seeking, that they are prioritizing that balance between tech and AI. So, do you have anything else to echo around my thoughts there?
Not only are we going to get a little bit exhausted about this sameness every day,
Mhm.
but the truth is that also AI will become more smart, more
Yeah,
intelligent,
yeah,
and the more that happens, the less we're gonna have to explain things to it, and the more it's
mhm,
going to be capable of doing things on its own. Like agentic AI,
yeah,
as we're seeing this
powerful.
revolution and unleashed in front of us, we will experience AI systems that do not require to be either prompted by us or guided by us for its operation. It will just do it. It
Yeah,
will be trained enough and it will be smart enough to be able to do it. So there's going to be a
okay,
combination of, yes, we're going to get exhausted, but some of these tools will be just by default, they will do what they need to do. But going back to the point about the human to human interaction versus AI, yeah, that concerns me a little bit. I read this research, this may have been like 3 months ago. Don't I can't remember exactly where I read it, but I do remember the numbers. And the research said it was a research on direct managers. And these direct
mm,
managers were asked about their use of AI.
yes,
70% of them said, I am now using AI for promotions, firing, hiring, compensation, feedback, mentoring, performance, blah, blah, blah. When those same managers were asked if they had received the training to use AI properly, something like 20% of them said yes. So that means that
hmm,
those managers are using AI and they don't even know if they're using it properly or not, which is very dangerous, by the way,
yeah,
especially when it comes about sensitive decisions regarding people's
people,
jobs, you know,
yeah,
people's jobs, whatnot. What I'm hoping is that as we learn about how to use AI,
yeah,
simultaneously we know that for now it is a system that enables us to expand our capabilities, but not the
right.
human one-on-one. There's no
Mhm.
replacement for that yet. That's kind of like my perspective on that.
Beautiful. We're wrapping up. So, looking ahead, what legacy do you hope to leave the HR and talent acquisition
Yeah.
community, especially for leaders and those practitioners with diverse and multifaceted backgrounds, like you described earlier, that really just impacted you and elevated you in so many different ways?
That's a very good question. And I actually think a lot about that, like how I want to be remembered in years from now. But I hope that whenever I'm ready to say, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to either do
Yeah.
something else or go to the beach and drink pina colada for the rest of my days. I hope that what people think about me and the work that I have done is that somebody believed in HR, somebody
Mhm.
loved HR,
Yeah.
and I'm not the only one. There are many of us out there. You're one of them, but there are Trent, whom you know, and
Yeah.
Jason, who connected us. There are many of us out there. But I
Yeah.
hope to be remembered as somebody who loved HR, who believed in HR, and
Yeah.
who bet for the future of HR. That people say something like, we became a business leader and we built better organizations, and with better organizations we were able to create better societies, and we did this because Anna and Enrique and Jason and Trent and Transform and Hacking HR, they were there for me when I most needed them. That's the
Yes.
kind of legacy that I want to leave.
Oh, beautiful. I am right there with you. And it's all about the evolution of work and continuing to be a trailblazer and going for it and building those communities. So, thank you for sharing your story, your wisdom, and your bright light with us. And it's been such a pleasure to have you today. And I hope you'll join us in January of 26 for
I
a
will.
ball. And I look forward to continuing the conversation. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you to all your listeners. Thank you.